Hi, welcome to the final installment of the library workshops for making a library documentary. This part is the final part, and it's about post-production. Once you've finished filming everything you can, collecting all the documents, all the elements, all the photographs, everything's sort of gathered up, you are ready to start post-production. It's actually, to me, it's the hardest part because it's about editing and you got to sort of finalize your idea, which is always harder in presenting any idea. It's the hardest part. So you have your proposal, you have all your documents, you have your idea, and you have to load it into an edit suite now. And this is kind of like the edit suite becomes the center point of post-production. Everything is funneled into them. We kind of call it in production workflow. You got to make sure that everything that you have can be loaded into the edit suite and worked with and accessible to sort of meld together in a project that's based in time and space, is what filmmaking is all about. When it comes to editing, it's a skill that's sort of like you have to develop. The more you do it, the better you get at it. Basically, you have to remember about assembling images in filmmaking is it's a time-based art form. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it runs over a certain amount of time. And it sort of plays out like music. Music is the same thing. It has a beginning of the song, a middle of the song, and the end of the song. And all the guitar, the drum, they all have different elements, emotional elements to them, and timelines of how long a guitar string, when you pluck it, it goes long. It has a length till you hear it. And a drum is quick. So images can play out the same way. In assembling images, we have a sort of way of going, you create patterns like, for example, your first shot is 10 seconds long. Your second shot is 5 seconds long. And then your third shot will be 10 seconds long. So you can do this with space too, not only time, space, meaning, well, the character walks in the frame going left to right. And then the next shot, they'll be going right to left. And then the third shot, they'll be going from left to right again. And when we see these put into a sequence, we assume, wow, that character's been walking everywhere. But if you only have them going in one direction, well, we go, oh, they're going somewhere. That's kind of how it works. Because it's time-based, one shot after another, you create this sort of narrative or this rhythm or these patterns. And that's what editing's all about. Creating rhythms and patterns in time and space. The editor, when they have to put something together, they usually ask about 3 questions, main questions. How long is this project going to be? Is it a short film, 10 minutes long, 5 minutes long, or is it going to be like 90 minutes long? Because you have to create enough patterns and elements all in a row in order to tell the narrative in a certain amount of time. If you don't have, someone says, oh, I have 5 shots, but I want to make a feature film, that's a little tough. So another important question that the editor will ask is, who is the audience for this project? So if the audience is experts in a certain field, you know that you don't have to start explaining things, over-explaining things, knowing that, most of the audience already knows about this. For the library documentaries, we'll probably be doing with a general audience, which is everybody will watch it. Not only experts, but people who are totally novice in ideas and even children. which actually makes it harder because you have to make it open to everybody. The other question that an editor will ask is, where will this be shown? For example, if it's on someone's telephone on a very small screen, you know that certain flaws such as pixelation or something like that doesn't really matter as much as if you're showing it in a theater. In the theater, because it's projected 60 feet, all the mistakes, all the flaws in documentation and even audio will be very obvious. But on a small screen, if it's just on the computer screen, we can get away with a lot more. When you're in post-production, there are basically 4 stages of post-production. First, once you've loaded in all your images into the edit suite, you start to arrange them in a timeline. I have this way of I actually take little cue cards and I label each shot. Like the first shot will be the front of the building, the front of the hospital. And I'll think, oh, that's my establishing shot. I'll start off with that. That will be my first shot where I can put titles or whatever. And then my second shot will be something else. But I write on little cue cards and I assemble them in sort of a row. And then that will kind of make me get a feel of how to assemble my images in the edit suite. This process is, the beginning process is called going towards a rough cut. Basically, you're just rough assembling everything in its order that feels like you can tell the narrative, that you're flowing through and we're following a thread in order to tell the story from the proposal that we wrote at the beginning. During this time, you also, at the end of the rough cut, you can gather people around and say, does this make sense? That's what the rough cut is. Are we on a straight line? And sometimes even for a short film, a rough cut will be an hour long because you put in everything in your rough cut. There's an old saying in editing, you don't finish your film until you throw out your best shot. And I've seen it happen multiple times because you've put in everything and people go, oh, I don't know why that shot's so good. Why you like that shot. And you're like, I don't know why I like it. But no, it really doesn't fit. It's a great shot. It worked out good, but it doesn't fit within this timeline of first shot, second shot, the patterning. Something doesn't work, you got to throw it out. You start throwing out images when you hit the second part, which is editing towards a fine cut. So that's after you finish your rough cut. Everyone's sort of got a gist of what works and what doesn't fit within that narrative. And then you start to tighten up all your shots. In editing, we start to add, at this point, we start to look at the audio more closely. In editing documentary, we usually use about three different types of audio tracks. We use location sound, which is people talking on location and the sound of location, the trees and blowing in the wind, car noise, whatever. That's kind of like location sound. And then the second track is usually narration. The narrator's voice will run underneath that. And then the third is the music, if you put in music. When we add music to a movie, whatever movie it is, it helps a lot in the patterning of your cuts because it helps you in this sort of creation of time and space. How long a shot is will determine how the music plays out. Many people, when they start in this editing process from rough to fine cut, they use any music they want because you can put in other music at the end that you have rights to, that is accessible, and it will always have that same beat because you're editing on beats. I like to put in music before I edit, so I know when to cut the images. Some editors don't, they want to cut the images first and then have someone give them music to cut to the images. You can work it both ways. When you get to the point where you get a fine cut and it closer to your end time, if it's a short film 10 minutes and you've cut all your images from an hour down to about 10 minutes, that's what we're calling the fine cut. When you get to that timeline, the length of how the final film is going to be, you're at a fine cut. And we often show everybody, you get consultation from other people, and everyone looks at it and goes, you know what, that doesn't work, or that works, or it feels good, boom, boom, boom. After the fine cut, then you tighten up everything and work towards what we call lock picture. So once you lock that picture, all the images are in a row, everything feels right, you've gotten an ending that satisfies your test audience or your other filmmakers or whoever you ask, and everyone understands, oh, there it is. All the images are edited together and you're at a locked picture. The final part after locking your picture is to go in and do a sound edit. Fix all the audio, make sure that the music, the real music is there, not the temp music. We call it temp music, is the music that we'd like to have but can't afford, and so we get something else, and everything's in there, and the final process is locking that sound to your picture. Then when you have all that together, then you are pretty well done. Some people like to go to an online, or what we call coloring. When you have different shots together in a row, sometimes the one shot, the sky will be blue, and the other shot, the sky, it will be cloudy. So what we do is, so there's not a jolt from one shot to next, they color them so they equal out. So it makes things smoother in the end. You don't have to do this. This is something that if you're more likely to think that a project must be, visually pleasing, people go along and do that. Once that's done, you're ready to launch your film at film festivals or on Facebook or YouTube or wherever your audience may be. Who knows? Anyway, so this has been the final workshop in the library documentary series. I hope everyone successfully finishes a project and gets it out there to waiting audiences. Good luck. Take care. Bye-bye.